Okay, today we're going to go over a method for measuring out strand lengths for paracord bullwhips. Big shout out to Nick's Whip Shop. I learned everything that I've learned about making paracord bullwhips from his tutorials, and this is me giving back a little bit of technique to the community. So I used to have a really tedious time dealing with measuring strand lengths. Essentially, what I would do is I'd take the 650 coreless paracord. I'd get myself the ruler, measured out to about a foot, and I'd just start, like lining up, one foot at a time, measuring, sliding it over, measuring, and it was really tedious. It took a huge long time. And my wife helped me come up with this idea for an easier way to do it. And what she found was these little cardboard, I guess these are used for fabric at your local craft store, but these little cardboard spools, I guess. Using these spools, what I can do is I can actually loop a whole bunch of the 650 cord around it, and then just calculate with the spreadsheet that I've got over here exactly where to cut, which particular loop to cut on. This particular piece of cardboard, and it could differ for yours, this particular piece of cardboard is 7.5 inches wide over here. It's 1 inch wide over here. So essentially half a loop is 8.5 inches, and a full loop going all the way around ends up being 17. And so what I do here is I've got a Google sheet that I'll share the link with that actually shows exactly what the strand lengths are for each particular strand. In this case, I'm going to do a second belly strand. So this is 5 strands. And it calculates not only the total number of inches for that strand, but where I would have to cut the loop at that point in order to make that length. Now, what I do is I just sort of add them all up as I go along. So what this does is this gives me all the numbers of the places that I have to cut. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to make about 51, 52 loops around this particular piece of cardboard with this 650 cord. Now, I'm going to start designating this as the front, and I'm going to designate this as the back, the seam over here, and I'm going to start from the bottom of the front as I build my loops. Now, one of the things you can do is you could actually get a piece of tape and tape down the 550 cord. Sometimes that kind of helps. But what I generally do is I hold the spool so that it can unroll evenly, so I don't twist the cord, and I just wrap a whole bunch of loops over there. So I'm going to go and wrap my loops, and then I'll be right back to show you how I mark it and cut it. Okay, so here we are, and let me show you a little bit about what I did over here. We've got our 51, almost 52 loops over here, starting with this one down over here, which is our loop number 1. Okay. So I've sort of bracketed this into sections of 10. So you notice how there's a little split over here. So this is 10, this is 20, this is 30, this is 40, this is 50, 51, and 52. Okay, so this is essentially the starting point for where I can start making my marks to do this cut. And what I'll do is I'll take a look at this at the spreadsheet, and it'll show me exactly where to mark things. So you see the very first one says that I need to cut 7 inches on the front of the 15th loop, right? So I go ahead, measure out 7 inches. I got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? I'll do it this way. So this is going to be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I need to measure 7 inches on that. So I'll just mark right over here for 7 inches. Now, you might need to pick a color marker that shows up depending on your paracord. So on this one, I might use a black marker instead of the silver one. But if you're using black paracord, of course, do the silver marker. You probably can't even see that on the screen, but trust me, there's a mark on the 15th strand 7 inches up. Now, all of the other loops are on the back, so I'm just going to flip this over. So all the other loop cuts that I need to do are on the back. The next one is 5.5 inches on the 29th loop. So this is 10, this is 20, this is 30. One before is 9. And so I need to do this at 5.5. Okay, so I'll go ahead, take my marker there, and we'll do 5.5 on that one. All right. Okay, the next one is the 39th, so 10, 20, 30, this is 40, so 39 is going to be the one right before, and 39th is going to be 1.5 inches, so just go over there, mark 1.5 inches over there. The next one is going to be the 47th, so this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then if this is 50, I go back 49, 48, 47. So this is the 47th strand, and I'm going to do 2.5 inches on the 47th strand. So right over here. And then last but not least is going to be 6.5 inches on the 51st strand. So this is 50, this is 51, and I'm just going to go 6.5 inches over here. Okay. Okay, so now that I've got all of my cuts, all I have to do is break out my scissors and cut these things and melt it. So I'll just take my first one over here. It's pretty easy. Just cut that. Go ahead, melt those. And so that's just off there. And as you can see, all of my cuts are on the back except for the very last one, so I'll do that one last on the front. And so I'll just stretch it in there, cut, melt. And do this next one over here. That melt one side, melt the other. Okay, there's another cut over here. Okay. And then I think the last one is on the front. So flip that over. And that last cut over here. Pull that out a little bit. And cut it right there. And melt it. And there you go. I now have all of my strands. And I found that this was a more accurate way of getting my strand lengths instead of worrying about the measurements. I would just loop it, right? So I can loop things on there and then calculate it out. And now I've got all of my strands ready to go. So it's my contribution to the craft. Thanks for watching. I'll put a link up for the actual loop cutting guide. This particular loop cutting guide is set up for a 6-foot bullwhip using Nick's Whip Shop instructions. So it's got 3 bellies, 4 strands on the first belly, 5 strands on the second belly. And then one thing that I'll put over here is that for the overlay, I actually do 2 colors on my overlays, so these are actually like half of the strand lengths, and they get welded together. So I weld overlay color 1 with overlay color 2, and I typically have the overlay color 1 shorter than overlay color 2, so that there's a little bit of stagger when you're dropping strands. That's why they look a little bit different. But the same thing applies, right? All you have to do is, if you figure out how many inches you have per loop of whatever cardboard guide you use, and how many inches per half loop, that gets calculated out. This calculator will tell you exactly which loop that you want to cut, whether or not you want to cut it in front or cut it in the back, and how many inches you need to do it from there. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy this. If you guys have any comments to share, maybe better ways of doing this, I'm all ears. Love to learn. Until then, take it easy. Aloha.